A nice and relaxed but classy vibe here as we get things underway on a beautiful Sunday here at Gulfstream Park. Keisha Courtney, Jason Blewett alongside. Good to have you with us here on this live edition of Gulfstream today. A lot of ground to cover as this Martin Luther King weekend rolls ahead.
That's right. We do have today and tomorrow as well. As Jason mentioned, we'll be racing on Martin Luther King Jr. Day tomorrow afternoon. We have 11 races on tap today, 1.98 million in the Rainbow Six. All good stuff, but yesterday was a great day as well.
It was. The place was packed. Gulfstream was buzzing. Everybody seemed to be having a great time and betting with both fists. And if you like long shots, this was the place to play. We saw a number of upsets on the program, none bigger than Francois at $132 to win for just a $2 win ticket in race 7 or 8. But again, the day certainly centered around the Grade 2 main event, the Fort Lauderdale, and taking a page from some of the earlier races, that proved an upset itself. A poor beginning for the big favorite, Heart to Heart, put that horse, who we've got circled, Shining Copper, on the lead.
And Shining Copper is normally a speedy horse, but the number 2 on the outside for trainer Scooter Dickey, one go, all go. Looked like he was going to go by, and hats off to Shining Copper, who was so game to come back on the inside and get the win under Jose Ortiz. Just absolutely phenomenal. You could see that tight photo. Mr. Ken Ramsey very excited in the winner's circle, of course, and saying that was a good prep for Barbados.
Yeah, the Grade 1 Barbados Gold Cup, which will be run on Saturday, March the 3rd. That'll be the next spot for the venerable 8-year-old gelding and Shining Copper, who really ran well, and Scooter Dickey nearly had the 30-to-1 upset, and that really made for a very tense 12th race finale that had 3 horses covered in the Rainbow Six, but one single in the form of Channel Cat, who endured a pretty wide trip and checked in a pretty good and hard-charging third. But even 6 out of 6 yesterday, Acacia, 104,000 plus.
A really good payoff there, 104,000, as Jason said, and we have that big carryover to start off. So even if you don't have the unique ticket, you can still get a great payoff.
Little rundown as to what we have going on, and a weekend, I'd say, with 11 today and another 11 tomorrow. This is more of a Breeders' Cup Marathon kaleidoscopio type weekend as opposed to, say, an extra heat in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We're pacing ourselves as we target that high 5, our first one in the opener, with more than 3,000 in the kitty. That'll coincide with the first leg of Sunday's early pick 5, and there is plenty of turf to go around on this fast and firm Sunday, January 14th. A bit later on, we don't have 3 pick 4s today, but we do have just under 2 mil in that Rainbow Six.
And 1.98 just to start in race number 6 today, and that single yesterday alive for about $2.4 million for the whole jackpot. So you don't want to miss out on that wager. It's been the talk of the town. It has been announced that if it does continue to carry, there will be a mandatory payout on the 28th, the day after the Pegasus World Cup. So keep in mind with that. But we're trying to hit that ticket today, and of course that'll wrap up today with the 50-cent late pick 5.
Sounds good, and let's dive without further waiting into the first of 11 here, as we are fast and firm, and again taking a page from many of the openers that we've had recently at Gulfstream. We begin things on the grass at 7.5 furlongs. Older $50,000 maiden claimers here in race number 1. And who are we using in the pick 5? Because we got a number of horses who seem to be friendly rivals out of the same race.
It certainly could be, and I'll use a couple to start things off. We'll show you my ticket. I've been waiting for Archer Road to drop down. I really, really like him quite a bit in this first race, but using 2 others as well. I'm going to go 2 deep in race number 2 this afternoon using Bun Bun and the 7th Flying Queen, Flying Queen was the one I actually contemplated singling if you're trying to make that even a little bit more affordable ticket. Going to be using, I think, kind of the big 2 on the outside, a first-time starter for Chad Brown and Trading Volume, and then the layoff runner for Barkley Tag and Raging Town. We'll see if he can do it off of the bench. 2 deep in race number 4 as well. Sister Drama looks really logical. That's a race you could probably use some more coverage in, but I wanted to go 3 deep in race number 5. You can just make a case for several in here, and I could have even used more in that race too. So some wide open affairs in this sequence, but $36 for me.
Races 4 and 5 are extremely difficult. Not that any of them are easy, or layups for that matter, but the 4th and 5th, boy, oh boy, you're going to need a little luck and maybe some defensive coverage in both the penultimate and final leg of this early Sunday pick 5. Now, again, moving on to the first race and talking about some of those friendly rivals, I know you prefer the 5 Archer Road, and I clearly agree because I've got him second, but you do have that pretty big contingent dropping out of the 5th race here on December 13th. That includes the rail runner, Mr. Bridger, who's got Jose Ortiz, the number 10, or number 2, I should say, 10 Downing Street, who's got Miguel Vasquez, who continues to bring home price after price, and he's ridden as well as anybody in this colony. And the number 6, who might vie for favoritism with Archer Road, number 6, Are You Talking to Me, who I thought got a great ride from Tyler Gaffalione last time out. This horse did have to bull his way through inside, turning for home, and again, the lack room short comment is not inaccurate, but I would say overall, this horse got a great ride. So if you do want to go back, maybe that race is worth a replay. I'm going to take him for Ralph Nix over Archer Road.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And the thing that really, I think, does make him jump off the page is that he actually crossed the wire first 2 starts back and was disqualified and placed 3rd in there. So he kind of has that in his resume. I just had to stick with a horse that I've been following. And the first time I saw Archer Road, I said, I want to see him go 2 turns on the turf. They tried that. He didn't run well at all. He was a huge price running against the likes of Hieroglyphics and Editorial, just some really tough competition. And then lately, he seems to have really found his stride. Yep. Even that race last time on the sealed sloppy track was not bad, and he was running against Robusto, who won by 13. So I think he's kind of found himself well. He's just been knocking on the door. I've been waiting for him to get a drop, and he does get that today with a Misael Jaramillo in the saddle.
Makes a lot of sense, as does potentially at a much bigger price to boot, the number 1, Mr. Bridger, who's second off the layoff for trainer Jane Sibeli, as this horse never had a breather in that return race on December 13th. He was in the worst spot, I think, of all throughout the running the race, basically just being jammed between vying for the lead.
Yeah, he really, I think, had a tough time there, and he was first off the bench. And here's a stat on Jane Sibeli in the past 5 years. This is on the turf, second off the layoff and maiden claiming races, and not a huge sample size, but she does phenomenal work in getting horses to take that next step forward. Positive ROI as well of 217, and I think she just does such a great job preparing her horses and spotting them properly.
Oh, she's a mainstay down here in South Florida, and have all the respect in the world for trainer Jane Sibeli and the operation that she runs. Now, we move on to race number 2. We step up with the older fillies and mares in this 2 lifetime 6250 bottom level claimer, and our opening dirt race today at 3/4 on the main track. Number 1, Bun Bun, not easy to claim off trainer Jorge Navarro, and this horse, Gray Filly by Hansen, will likely go favored off the claim for Safi Joseph Jr., who, when it comes down to it, on a year-round basis, is one of the sharpest claiming guys we have here in South Florida.
And he claims off Navarro pretty frequently, so I don't think this is a negative. That's not what I'm concerned about with this horse, and I even remember talking to Safi before the championship meet started. He specifically mentioned that. He said, I love trying to claim off of Navarro because he'll get some horses that maybe have a little bit of dirtied up form and are already in good form, and he just such a good job of spotting horses that are going to be good claims, and he certainly has had a good championship meet. What concerns me about Bun Bun, and she does pick up Luis Saez, which is good, is that she just didn't run well last time. I was really underwhelmed by that effort. So I took a stab with the number 7 Flying Queen. Again, as I mentioned, I considered singling this one. She really doesn't have much to go off as far as dirt races. Her last 3 races have been on a sealed sloppy track. I'm just going to ride the Victor Barboza bandwagon.
From an outside post, and not a bad strategy to have there, occasion. I was just thinking, looking at Flying Queen's last 3 races before a little bit of a breather in the layoff department, just how rainy and pervasive and prevalent those wet tracks were throughout the fall here. Happy that Mother Nature has really, really given us some great weather here. She's been a little
kinder.
Oh, she has been way more kinder. Outside of that little cold spell, and I know people up north will be throwing stuff at their TV when we mention that, it really has been a terrific run so far here at Gulfstream during the championship meet, and I would use Flying Queen in any sort of multi-race wager. But Mama Cheetah does interest me, and I say this with peace and love, but I do like the change of scenery from trainer Pedro Castillo over to Bernardo Lopez, and Bernardo doesn't run that many horses, races, but he does an excellent job. And just following in recent memory, watching Mr. Joshua on a trainer change from this prior barn over to Gilberto Zerpa and seeing how good that horse has gotten over his last couple of races, I'm hoping a similar, again, change of scenery works out for Mamachita. And what can you say about Miguel Vasquez?
It's been really impressive, and he's done this before when he just kind of gets on that run, and I think you see this a lot of times with jockeys when their confidence is really at a high, and just some really smart rides, getting a lot out of his mounts, and been very impressed with the way that he's been riding lately. So certainly figures. This one's been solid. I just didn't love the field that she came out of last time.
I don't disagree with that.
But I think that she certainly has a shot in here.
I think she does. You've got basically every bit of the 1, 4, and 7. It's inside, outside, and middle of the road there in race number 2. As we turn our attention now to the 3rd, we continue to sprint here on the main track, and moving on to these older filly mare $50,000 maiden special weight runners, going with a field of 6. 3 of these are likely to attract the bulk of the play, but with that said, they are 3 very diverse and individual-looking horses, be it the second-time starting layoff runner First Mistress, who you'll hear more about in a second, the 4-year-old Arch Firster, homebred for Klarovich Stables in the 5 trading volume, who's got some fast works, and the number 6, Raging Town, is off a lengthy layoff for Barclay Tagg.
I did take the layoff horse, and I was looking up and just playing around with some stats. With 180-plus day layoff in maiden special weight, it's not something that he does very much, but he's 3 for 9 winning and 6 for 9 in the money. So those horses that do come back do seem to be well meant.
Yep.
I certainly wouldn't single this horse. I wouldn't leave the Chad Brown Firster off. Fast works, as you said. The Dam's only win was on the turf, and this is her first foal, so we'll see what we get.
And a very unlike Chad move. We just don't see Chad run that many older horses as first-time starters on the dirt. In fact, over the last 5 years, he's only saddled 14 of them with 1 winning. But kind of like going against the usual, what I think of your typical Chad Brown dirt maiden, and I'm going to take the 5 trading volume. And I do see, I mean, Chad's got such a mega operation in terms of numbers. He now has horses up at Payson Park. First time for him, and that is a beautiful, quiet place to train. Beautiful. Yeah, you've been there as well.
No, I actually haven't been there.
You've just seen pictures and maybe workout video.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is really
haven't
nice.
Made it up yet.
You've got Shug up there, Christophe Comont, Bill Mott, Chad Brown. I mean, it really is a list of who's who as far as legendary horsemen. Now, Saffie Joseph Jr., who's got Bun Bun off the claim in the 2nd, also brings back the layoff runner. The number 2 First Mistress here in race 3. Very tardy, tough beginning for her in her debut, and she was well backed at 5-2 in her first ever career race on September 1st. It's a race we'll backtrack from the starting gate and show you. She had an inside post, in fact, broke from that tricky rail, and you just get a sense of how slowly she was off and how out of it early on when they opened up the starting gate doors, and she basically dwelt at the start. I don't think there's any other way to put it. Way behind the 8 ball. Now, despite that and being so far back, here she comes moving inside and then angling out 3 wide. A very solid effort, I think, in the context of this race, Acacia. What I don't like about it, or what I think is a potential negative, I just don't know what she was facing in terms of quality.
I agree with you, and she took a lot of money as a first-time starter, too, and, of course, given that bad break, the winner Who's Calling won by open lengths, but the quality that she'll face, even though it's a small field in here, I think is tougher, just top to bottom. Now, she's half to Miatori, who's a very fast horse and multiple graded stakes placed as well, so the breeding is certainly there, and first dudes do tend to be precocious, so I wouldn't totally discredit her.
All right, first dude in the mix in race number 3. 4th on the afternoon, back to the turf we go. The gals certainly grabbed the attention early on. Another one here for older fillies and mares in this 2 lifetime mile and a 16 turf race. Coverage, coverage, coverage. Even though you and I both have the number 2 Sister Drama on top, who I think is what won me over, the fact I think she's going to get a great trip in here, up close, tucked away, covered up inside from post 2, beneath Julian.
I think she's going to get a great trip in here. You're absolutely right. I like Julian aboard. I think he's going to fit this filly very well. She also comes out of a good race that produced 2 next out winners. 2nd off the claim. We keep talking about Yvonne Belsour, very sharp barn and spots horse as well. And I think that this one just has a really big shot in here. The number 7, Court Central, really intrigued me. Feed Me Carrots did come back to win again the other day, so that also proves to be a strong strong race, and now third off the bench too. And this one was just so far back last time. But I think that this is a horse that's not without a shot in here.
Definitely fits in terms of, I think, overall ability and the fact that she's coming out of a really deep two-lifetime claimer. I like that Femi Carrots race relative to what Court Central's in against. What I don't like, her main Achilles heel, is the fact she just loves to lag. I mean, they're hitting the first turn. She's over at Gulfstream West. I mean, she's in another zip code early on. And that's one of the reasons I tried to shake things up at an okay price, I'm hoping, with the 10 Extravagant Baby, who's got the speed to maybe wind up on an uncontested lead here. I'd love to see her get an aggressive ride from post number 10 beneath Miguel.
Yeah, Freckle de Freck should maybe make the pace interesting in here, but if there's really no clear pace setter, then that really could be the key, and that could be the toughest part for some of the other horses that we're interested in. Again, just with you thinking that's going to be the best case scenario for Sister Drama.
All right, race number 5. The early pick 5 comes to a close with older horses in this $50,000 starter allowance at a 2-turn mile. Another very successful and highly profitable Saturday here at Gulfstream Park for leading trainer Todd Pletcher, who walked away with a training double. And although the buyers weren't out yet, and I don't know if they're having difficulty maybe with the card or they thought the track changed, but I'll tell you, not even seeing the figure, that his Magnum Moon, who won the opening leg, what was that, the 7th race yesterday? Yeah, the 7th race.
6,
Oh, that horse really looks like he's got a big future.
Really beautiful first-time starter for Todd Pletcher, and just really was just touting himself. I mean, kind of looked like that prize fighter entering the ring kind of look. So really interested to see what we get from him next out.
And we mentioned Todd just because he's got the number 2 Candy Asset, who you've got second, and he's also got the number 6 Your Only Man. And I forgot to mention, and certainly was remiss in doing so, with, I mean, basically 4 key players in today's opener coming out of that race Your Only Man one. You've got to take a look at them to see how they perform, and maybe you can upgrade or downgrade his chances in this upcoming 5th race.
Yeah, good point. He came off of a huge layoff, roughly 17 months, and making his first start in the United States for Todd, and got the win last time.
Now, Solio claimed off a Grand Motion by trainer Mike Baker, and we had liked this horse last time, and I'm a sucker for these Flaxman stable horses. Whether or not they're still with the Niarchos family is a moot point, and man, does this horse have, when he's in the right spot and he shows up and he gets things to work out in terms of some racing luck, he's capable of a big effort and was very determined last time out, a race we will bring you from 24 days ago beneath jockey Nick Juarez, who's not aboard today. You do pick up Jose Ortiz, and Nick just rode this horse flawlessly with that sustained inside run. As you can see, that horse second off the rail is way out in the middle of the track, and there you go with Solio, able to really kick it into high gear. Perfect ride, perfect trip, and we go back to trainer Mike Baker. No matter who he seems to claim off of, even some of the best trainers in the game, does seem like he does great work and can move horses up even though he's taking them off A-list guys.
Yeah, and we've seen it happen so many times before, no matter what Mike Baker claiming, especially on the turf, just about as good as you can possibly get. Worth noting, and you could probably see it underneath his saddle cloth there, but Solio I found is the type of horse that's just a mess before the race. Get all washed out, and that's just his norm. But he certainly does have ability when he's good. I ended up taking a stab with the 3 Little No Way, who I thought ran a huge race last time out behind another Mike Baker trained horse in Benefactor, and I thought that was a good field that he faced. I don't think he handled the yielding turf course at Kentucky Downs, and not to mention some horses just don't like Kentucky Downs in general. Other than that, he's been incredibly consistent, especially on the turf, so took a stab with him and the fact that Javier Castellano rides again.
Some great points, and I like that race like you that he's exiting out of. That was about as deep in A other than I think you could catch, and Benefactor obviously was just up in a nick of time for who else, as you said, trainer Mike Baker. We've only got 1 Baker horse on the card today, but we do have 6 races remaining here on the show, and that is all about the rainbow when we come back.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet, we are racing.
On January 27th, the world's richest thoroughbred horse race returns. The Pegasus World Cup Invitational. 12 of the world's best horses compete for a record $16 million purse. It's an unforgettable entertainment experience you won't want to miss. At Gulfstream Park, one of Florida's premier entertainment destinations. Tickets on sale now at PegasusWorldCup.com.
Wow, just 13 days out from that $16 million Pegasus World Cup here on Saturday, January 27th, as a hearty welcome back welcomes you here to Gulfstream today with Acacia and Jason, and we're looking forward to Gunrunner, the likely horse of the year, joining us here in South Florida this coming Thursday.
Yes, he's coming into town. We'll have horses shipping in between now and the 27th. Of course, we have a few hometown heroes, if you will. Gunavera, a couple of horses for Jorge Navarro out at Gulfstream West already, training and getting ready. So very excited. Going to be very deep competition. And of course, that week will also be highlighted by the Eclipse Awards the Thursday before, and we'll see what happens in all of those categories.
All right, good stuff. Now, will we have a mighty 7-figure Rainbow Six carryover by the time the Pegasus and even the Eclipse Awards roll around? Time will tell, but we do know we have almost $2 million in the kitty, and that means we're going to take it down today, right?
Yes, we are. And just a quick reminder, too, we wanted to remind you we are racing tomorrow, Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Post time is 12, so special live racing. So we're going to try to take it down today, but if not, you keep an eye out for that carryover tomorrow.
Yeah, don't forget, like I just did, that we're running here tomorrow. 11 races on the card, a couple of good maiden races in the mix as well. Now, getting down to business with your Rainbow Six today, what are we doing?
All right, well, I do have a single, and just taking a stab here, trying to keep it a little bit more on the affordable side. You can maybe find some friends, go a little bit deeper. We have nearly $2 million in that carryover here. I'm just using 2 horses to start things off. I like Jubilant on the drop. Lee Westboro Jr. had a really nice winner yesterday. I think that Overdraft also on the drop figures. Going 3 deep in race number 7, another tough, as it always seems to be the case, 16K claimer on the turf. And I wanted to spread in race number 8. That's a really, I think, competitive maiden special weight. You've got Cilantro and Cipriano, I think, really well met. Firsters, Paulita as well. Y'all could be interesting. I like the name, and Roger Atfield's horses have been running well. Padilla is just going to be my single. First off the claim, winner last out for Ralph Zadie. Going to be make it as simple as that and use that as my anchor. 2 deep in race 10, and hopefully we get to the finale. A nice maiden special weight sprint to cap things off with 3 horses.
And where else can you get that action for a $20 bill and a 10 spot? $28.80, the cost of that 20-cent spreading there on Acacia's Rainbow Six ticket. And as far as Padilla goes down the line in that turf sprint off the claim for Zadie, and even looking in this opening leg at the Dale Romans drop down, the number 7 Overdraft, I would not, if somebody was putting in a real modest budget-minded ticket, they seem like 2 very reasonable win or lose singles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Dale's horse is going to be tough in here, especially picking up Luis Saez, working well locally at Gulfstream. As I said, on the drop, has some natural speed, definitely figures. I just took a stab with Jubilant, who I liked the way that this filly looked last time out. I think that she fits better at this level, too. She's got to step it up, but I think she's been moving in the right direction.
I do as well. Miguel Vasquez, again, a busy rider today, and doesn't ride first call for really anybody. Doesn't have a mega barn per se behind him, but continues just to do a good job out there. All the more impressive when you consider he missed a good chunk of October and November due to injury.
Yeah, great to have him back. And I just have to mention the 6th in here is probably one of my favorite names I've ever seen, and Dancing Donut, first-time starter for Aubrey Mirage.
I thought Blewett was going to be running when you said that, but no.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah, but we like Blewett. In fact, we love Blewett. But yeah, Dancing Donut for Aubrey Mirage.
Good.
And again, Aubrey,
like it.
It's a great name. Who doesn't love donuts? And Aubrey, by the way, all kidding aside, I mean, he has been tunnel vision in the zone this meet.
Yeah, I've been seeing some really good things from him, and I think that's the beauty of the championship meet. You've got a lot of the really big names, a really strong jockey colony, but some of those other ones like Aubrey Mirage or Miguel Vasquez doing well as well.
Yeah, good to see those Gulfstream, and there are plenty of races to go around, but good to see some of those GP wins being spread around to guys that aren't per se that fly all that often on the radar. Now, $16,000 older filly mare claimers will meet on the turf in race number 7 today. It's 7.5 furlongs, and as we start Sunday's late pick 5.
Just laughing at our picks.
So ridiculous. I can't wait after we go through this ticket to look. And I will be writing down who's ever not mentioned there and boxing those horses. But that is pretty crazy. I prefer horses the most in this upcoming 7th who have outside posts, but obviously, and you could even tell from the chaos with Acacia's Super in mind, this race is nuts, and I'm going 4 deep in the first leg. 3 firsters look like they are going to command potentially a lot of respect, and we'll see between Paulita by Scat Daddy, Cilantro by Distorted Humor for Pletcher, and then the 10 Cipriana for Mark Hennig by Bodemeister. Using all 3 of them, that looks like that could be a really nice race for 3-year-old fillies. I didn't single Padilla. I'm also going to use one of your favorite trainers in Reed Nagel with the drop down to GQ cover up. And in the end, though, I went 2 deep and the 10th race. How much tougher now is the 10th race with no Cowtown Spirit?
It really is. Cowtown Spirit was going to be a potential single in that race too. That was going to be, I think, a tough one for her to lose. So we'll see what happens there now.
And the Candy Ride firster for me to end things. I love Wertheimer and Frere, and they got a firster here for Pletcher in the last. A good spot. Who'd you use in the 11th race, by the way?
I like the 10 Glossy for Bill Mott. I'm intrigued by that one. I certainly used the 2 in Pocketbook coming out of a good race for Wesley Ward.
All right, returning to Florida for Pocketbook there. Has some experience down here in sunny South Florida. But again, this begins this late pick 5 and leg number 2 of the Rainbow Six. 9-11-1-4 for me, 8-7-3-1 for Acacia. I'm glad you noticed that, because that is amazing that we are just all over the place here.
It's that kind of race.
It is that kind of race. And my thoughts were, bad post aside, I said if I liked Wakachula last time out, thinking that she just hated it over at GPW, and maybe she just needed a race after 3 consecutive non-efforts to kind of get back in the groove, why not give her one more chance here? And I'm going to put her, and I did put her over the 11 Polango, who's second off the claim for Marcus Vitale, who's going so good, he nearly got Captain Kit home, who lost by about this much in yesterday's first.
Yeah, Captain Kit ran a good race yesterday for sure, and I totally agree. Wakachula was on the bubble for me. I had her kind of in that I'll also use bucket list there, but Wakachula, certainly hearing from Tammy Levy last time out saying maybe she needed that last race, but would have loved if Luis Saez had stayed aboard maybe and just kind of a non-effort for me last time, so that's why I ended up using her not in my top 4. I took a stab with College Holly. Ruben Garcita has 2 in here. He also has the 12 Miss Maserati, who's trying the turf for the first time. I took a wait and see, but College Holly I think is better than that last race and actually does have some real talent, so gonna give her a stab in here and just hope that maybe she's in the right spot today. And Vortex Road, I mean, Jorge Navarro has been on an incredible run lately, and not only are horses winning, but they're winning by open lengths. And I know that this one's stepping up to face open competition, but she did win her last 2.
5 wins on the week for trainer Jorge Navarro, and heading into yesterday's 9th race with the Mossy, he had gone 5 for his first 8 this week alone, and I think he ran 2 more horses yesterday. So he's basically 5 for his last 10 alone at Gulfstream Park, which is just out of this world. But a very good 7th race, and my one comment that I made on the paper, my past performance sheet, was you run this race 10 times, you might get 7 or 8 different winners. It's just that kind of race, and the proof is in the picks there, where you may want to just box everybody else who's not mentioned. All right, the 8th on the card, back to the dirt we go. This is my favorite race, I think, on the card, even though there's guessing to go on here, because this is a race that it seems is very much in the terms of numbers and quality, perhaps, dominated by first-time starters. You may have a couple of firsters, 3-year-old filly firsters, who can run a little bit in here, and why not reinvent the wheel? I just went with the 8 Cilantro, Rapoli horse, Pletcher Johnny, but I am most anxious to see what we get out of your top pick, who I've got second, Cipriano, who's got some fast workouts.
Some really fast works, and maybe first-time starters at Gulfstream isn't a move that we're so used to seeing from Mark Hennig, but this one has a similar look to another really meant firster in Strike Power, who we saw debut here for Mark, and certainly the inside speed, that was where you wanted to be on that day, and that's what that horse had, but he did get a 102 Beyer speed figure for his debut. This one has some nice breeding as well. She's by Bodemeister, and she's off to a stakes winner going to the window, so we'll see if she is well meant. And I know you wanted to show a work from Cilantro, because this one's been really doing good things in the morning as well.
It seems like like she has not missed a beat up at Palm Beach Downs as we use this video courtesy of our good friends over at XBTV. Now, Cilantro's on the outside, and do note the filly to her inside, and Precious is running in today's last race. That's the Candy Ride Firster from post number 2. Not an all-out workout by any means, but obviously a filly who looks very much composed and well within herself. Some good, smooth action, and yeah, I like seeing this work. Couple of breezes back on our work tab for Cilantro at Todd Pletcher Downs, otherwise known as Palm Beach Downs.
Exactly right. And looking at this, I did prefer personally the work from Cilantro versus Precious, so we'll see what we get from the two of them today, and great to see them working in company. But you do have another firster in here for Chad Brown. You have some really big barns with some well-meant firsters. Paulita looks pretty sharp as well by Scat Daddy out of a graded stakes winning mare Blind Date.
All right, let's move on to the 9th today. We move on to Padilla, who's going to be a short price and perhaps the shortest price favorite in the Rainbow Six. I would say it's probably a race between the Romans drop down in the opening leg and Padilla, who lands in a scratch-reduced field of 8 in this Florida-bred older optional claimer, sprinting on the turf at 5 furlongs. Padilla's done some really good things. In fact, let's relive this 8-year-old, now 8-year-old, his last start in victory back on December 22nd when he was an 8-5 favorite going out for trainer Aubrey Mirage, and he kicked it into high gear. This is a horse that can just close with the best of them. And he's got prior races going this niche-like distance of 5/8 on the turf. He's got a number of good-looking efforts showing on his resume, and I think it's just a wise move picking up Saez and not getting cute and running him back for 16,000.
Yeah, not to mention he came out of the race in the Claiming Crown Canterbury 2 starts back where he ran against Peony Price. Sir Navigator came back to win. That was a very, very tough and competitive race. He came back to win impressively. And as we come out of this race, we'll show a stat on Ralph Zadie as well. First off the claim in the past 5 years with winners last time out, he's 33%. Wow. And it's not a huge sample size, but 75% of the time in the money and positive ROI. So certainly the type of horse you're used to seeing for this barn as well.
No doubt about that. Padilla looks very good. My price idea, the drop down, the number 3
my
GQ
long shot today.
cover. Oh, so see, and this is not good news for me. Ronnie and I have been on the same sort of parallel with me always picking his long shot, it seems, over the last few weeks. And now I see I am starting to land on your long shots too. But this horse has got to look to him. And I think after scratches, it just in the overall, his overall ability, it's a very good spot. Assuming Padilla just runs his B-level, B-plus level effort, GQ cover-up's got every chance to be right there with them.
What I really liked is if you go back to July, he set the pace with Croy in that race that Croy ended up winning on July 29th. And he was a little bit distracted on that day, just maybe not running his best effort. They managed in the next couple of races to rate him a little bit better, and that is a much better move for him. I love the jockey change to Jose Lascano today. I think that he's in the right spot, dropping, just running against much tougher competition last time, and I think should really be a big player this afternoon.
All right, as we get on to race number 10, 11 today, so this will kick off the late double. Final dirt race on the program. These older filly mares, 6250 claimers, field of 10 set the battle in race number 10, and easily the biggest scratch on today's card, and certainly in the Rainbow Six, and losing the morning line favorite, the number 11 Cowtown Spirit. And with her out, I scratch into the 9 Mighty Patient, who's got the look of a typical new face, well-connected drop down that I normally go for in Jason's service. And in fact, Acacia and I both like horses on top from the outside. You're right next door with Marcial Navarro.
I did, and I think Mighty Patient, especially with the scratch of Cowtown Spirit, will be a very short price today. And here's just some food for thought. And you know what a big fan I am of Jason's service and the work that he does. But here's in the past 5 years on the dirt, going from allowance to claiming, because this is a significant drop. And it is a good, solid percentages, 56% of the time in the money, but it is a low ROI. These horses do tend to take money and perhaps underperform a bit. Comes out of a good race at Gulfstream West last time, and it's just a very significant drop in class. And I admit my horse is maybe not pretty on paper either, but this one's going to be a bit of a price and did not mean it. She's been consistent. She's actually run against and behind Cowtown Spirit a couple times. Maybe she just finds the right spot.
All right, with Gaffleone there, you got Erod and Gaffleone from the outside post in race number 10. We end things with a good one here, and much like the 8th race for the 3-year-old fillies on the dirt, there's some guessing to go around for the most part in this maiden win special weight for 3-year-old fillies at 5/8. Now, you do have Pocketbook, hands down a major player, and the 10 Glossy. If you were looking for fillies to build off of who have already run, they seem like the most logical.
And I just think they face the best competition. You have Glossy, you had Andina Del Sor win that race, who was a really impressive first-time starter for trainer Todd Albertrami, came back in a stake with a really good third. In fact, 3 next out winners from that race as well. Pocketbook ran against Snapper Sinclair and Guido, who was very impressive to come back and win. So we'll see what we get from these two. Wouldn't be surprised if a firster took it.
No, and that's why I went with the Candy Ride firster, a little gun runner flavor, getting the Candy Ride influence underway here at GP. I do remember the Dam, and she was highly thought of. She only wound up running 3 times. Broke her maiden first out at Saratoga at a very short price. Little Pletcher Johnny V for me here in the last.
And this one is off to a stakes place horse named Runaway Giant, who did win on the grass.
All right, sounds good. As we continue to run right through that first race, it's going to be a great day here at Gulfstream Park. We bring on next, though, Pete Aiello with those Sunday scratches and changes.